Did you make any money on it?
Nah, I lost money, big money. Yeah, I think over 100 grand.
Yeah, good.
And it was the biggest job I'd done to date from a turnover perspective.
You lost 100 on it.
Yeah, yeah. Built a pond in Georgia for Shaquille O'Neal. Met Shaq himself and got to shake his hand and say good day and have a bit of a chat to him. So
everyone has the ability to do anything that they want. A long time ago, someone said to me, "You'll know when you reach your limit when you can't sleep." How you going? I'm not sleeping. How long haven't you been sleeping for? A year. Yeah. And you go, a year? Fuck. But if your life and who you are doesn't enjoy it anymore, or if your family, needs to come first because you've got school pick up and drop off, then it's all right to go from 7 to 3. Alrighty, welcome back everyone. Today I'm here with Daniel O'Callaghan, or O'Callaghan, I just heard and learned, from Nature Build.
Howdy.
Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, good mate. How you going?
Good, thank you. Just another day, another podcast.
Yes.
So tell us what you do. Tell us about Nature Build, where you started, where you're going.
Yeah, well, Nature Build is the company now, which sort of focuses on water features, recreation ponds, a little bits of landscaping, but most of my sort of niche is in ecosystem water features. But where I came from is a sort of a long journey. I actually was a chef very early on, and
what sort of chef?
Well, I worked in a few different restaurants, did okay, won Apprentice of the Year and competed for the state and stuff like that, and worked for a few good chefs, and then sort of got to my early 20s.
So you like or hate MasterChef?
Hate it.
Hate it?
Oh, no, I don't hate it. No,
yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he does.
I don't like cooking shows. I
MasterChef.
don't like cooking shows in general because it's a little bit different than a commercial environment. It's like having a game show where they're like, dig a perfect hole, but you've got 4 hours and all the stuff that you want and perfect conditions, and you're sitting there going, well, this is bullshit, because that's not actually how it works in real life.
I can dig a perfect hole, but it's only for the television.
Yeah. So it's sort of, I feel like those cooking shows are a bit the same as they, they're like, I made a perfect dish for 2 people in 6 hours with all the ingredients that I need, and nobody's stressing me out.
And no one's screaming at me and threatening to bash me.
Yeah.
So then you're a chef, and so what happened then?
Just sort of wanted to do something a little bit different, get out of, be a bit more hands-on, work with my hands a bit more, and I'd sort of done a few renos and had a passion for carpentry, and so that led me out of the kitchen and working with other carpenters, which I then started doing some renovations with other carpenters, working with heavy timbers and recycled timbers, excuse me, which I really like. So I worked for a few guys there, and then spoke to a mate of mine and said, you've got any chippy work going on? And so ended up, he said, I've got a mate that works with, is doing a couple of builds at the minute. And so I rang him and he said...
New builds?
New builds, but using recycled timbers and, very Castlemaine style,
bit of
mud brick, bit of recycled timber.
Here I am thinking to myself, you start moving into smacking out a frame every day for Henley Homes or something.
No, it's a bit like Eltham in the 70s, Castlemaine style. So it's so I rang him and he basically said, I'm framing at the minute. Have you got nail guns? And I didn't at the time, and so I did what anyone does when they're trying to get in the industry. I hit up Gumtree and bought 2 not working nail guns and
cool. So I've got nail guns that don't work, but I can bring them with me.
Yeah. So I rang him back 2 days later and said, all right, mate, I've got 2 nail guns. And he said, great, you can start next week. And that's how I got in with him. And so I worked with him for quite a few years and did a lot of custom stuff, big sort of recycled timber, recycled timber trusses and lining and sort of hardwood doors and frames and notching all that out, and which I enjoyed.
That's a bit of a niche.
It is, yeah, which I really enjoyed, but it led me outside more to do more sort of heavy timber work outside, doing big heavy pergolas, which I really enjoyed, and then that sort of led me into water features and landscaping. So that's where I'm
interested to see how you do a hop, skip, and a jump from putting up a recycled timber truss. You just really skimmed right over the fact that one day you're up, hanging off of a roof, and then the next day it just makes sense. You're doing water features. Fuck, we're doing water features now, boys.
It kind of was. So I had gastro actually, and I was crook in bed, and I was watching, and I just came across Aquascape, who's the company we use with the work contractors for, and they do these awesome river systems and natural looking water features and everything else. And it was like a light bulb moment, I suppose. Like it was all of a sudden I went, oh shit, that's awesome. Like that's what I grew up walking around in and crawling through when I was a kid, living on horse farms and everything else. And I just pretty much jumped out of the aeroplane and built the parachute on the way down. And that was 10 years ago. So I flew over to the US and did work over in the US and did training over there. And
so you're building a billabong and then you go, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to America to do training to build a natural landscape. Or is it just that they have, this idea that they're trying to build natural water features and then you put in the Australian part?
Well, so Aquascape is based in Chicago. So I went over there. They have a big, they call it Pandemonium actually, which is a big sort of conference over there. And they do classes and they do training and they have guest speakers and they do all kinds of different stuff. They have build a pond days and they have competitions and rookie foreman builds and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty cool. If you're into water features, it's a pretty cool sort of thing. So I went over there and did a bit of training there and as well. And then have travelled a bit for them. Went over to Belgium as well.
What's in Belgium?
Firestone Liner, which is now Elevate Liner. But Firestone, who makes the tyres, are the same people that make the rubber liner, or used to be the people that make the rubber liner. So we actually won a competition over here for the best feature using Firestone Liner for a waterfall that we built at an Airbnb. And we won a trip over to Belgium to do...
Big waterfall?
It was reasonably big. It was very logistically challenging because they already had, all the walkways and decking and your shipping container villas and everything else already in. So all the rocks went in with a big 30-ton crane and sort of slinging them down between stairways and putting them on liner and everything else. So it was a logistical challenge.
Sorry for interrupting this episode. I may as well do my own ads on here rather than just having YouTube ads. ConExpo has its last discount code up now. It's going to last all the way to the expo. It's Starbucks 20 and get you 20% off of your tickets. So don't buy them at full price. Look forward to seeing you all there. Thanks. So how do you go from? I want to go back to the bit of you're installing timber and then you go, fuck, I really want to do water. And then you start there. So you're on you had gastro.
Yep.
You're on your phone or your tablet in bed.
Yeah, I was watching telly. Watching YouTube on telly.
Watching YouTube on telly, and then you go, fuck, I want to start. So what did you do then?
Well, I basically called up Aquascape and said, hey, I want to build water features. And they said, oh, okay, well, we'll send you out some information. And that was how it started.
That easy?
Pretty much. Like it's as far as obviously, there's years of then training and working with other contractors. And then you're going to
fuck it up too.
Yeah, and the cost that you pay to learn like you do with anything. And I flew up to Queensland and worked with Patrick Hanley from Waterscapes Australia on multiple projects. I worked with Ben Harris Gardens, who's based in Melbourne, who is an award-winning designer who was doing water features, who I worked with him a bit. And just really just paid the cost of sweat equity. It's going and working with other people and donating my time for very little money to work hard and learn how to do it.
It's actually something that I notice is a common theme amongst people sitting in the chair in front of me that sits down and says, oh, I didn't care about the money. Oh, yeah, I donated the money. Oh, yeah, I donated my time. Oh, sweat equity. All of these words you just used, people use them in different ways, but it seems to be that across the board, the real successful people that are sitting in front of me are sitting down and saying at the beginning or at one point of my career, it's not about the money at all. The money is like, don't get me wrong, have to have some. However, that's not, if you're chasing that, then you're going to not be, like whatever ends up sitting in the chair later, or you'll be a different version of it because you have to go out and learn. You have to be going and doing these things and, flying around and getting the education in what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And I suppose I probably still am not hugely money motivated. It's probably only just 10 years in starting to go, yeah, you know what? I should probably start making some money from these things. But I've always been passion driven. I've always done things because I loved them. And if I'm not passionate about it and if I'm not madly passionate about it, I can't do it.
So what is it? What is the? So you're still doing water features now?
Yep.
What is the standard install look for you guys? Do you dig the holes, install the pumps, install the shit everywhere? Is that what you do?
Yeah. So we pretty much start to finish. So occasionally I'll have an operator come in and give me a hand if I need an extra pair of hands or a bigger machine that I've got and I want an operator. But a lot of the times I'll just hire machines as well. So it starts off with the excavation. Quite specific excavation because we need to sort of make sure that we're cutting pretty vertical shelves and tearing it out so that we can create structure inside the pond. Then once we've got that, we lay geotextile fabric and EDPM liner down, and then every rock that goes in gets slung in with either soft slings or chain rigs, and we have to sling that in on top of liner and then chock rock it and then backfill it with pebbles so that it creates a stable sort of retaining shelf, and then you build the next tier up of water feature.
It sounds like it's fraught with danger and that you might have had a fuck up or two along the way. What happens when you break a liner?
I've been pretty lucky and pretty careful. One thing I always say to my guys is it's real easy to fix liner if you tell us or we know about it as it happens. Because you can cold seam EDPM liner together, you can patch it and everything else. So it's only becomes a problem when you don't tell me about it or we don't realise that rock might have knocked that bench a little bit and all of a sudden you're losing water. So I have seen, I've been pretty lucky, but I have been on some sites where, we've lost rocks out of a crane, out of a sling on a crane that was 30 metres in the air and landed on the liner right in the middle of the pond.
That's a bad day.
That was a bad day. Thankfully, it was nobody was around the pond at the time, and we were able to fix it. I just sort of got into the bottom of the pond and cut it out and re-seamed a new piece of liner back in there, and it was all good. But yeah, it's there is definitely some dangers. It's really keeping hands out of the way, keeping your wits about you, making sure that you're looking and focusing on where the rock is, where your point of exit is, where the machines are. Everything else. So you've got to be switched on, and it's sort of why I like it, I suppose. It's that mixture of heavy machinery and big rock work, but also finesse and care and skill and everything else.
Do you design them or you get designers to design them?
I generally design myself. I do work with designers a little bit, but designers are generally just sort of marking out the proposed pond area with a bit of an idea, and then we'll come in.
And where the hell do you learn to design a good pond? And have you ever designed a pond that was shit and that someone didn't like at the end of it?
I've designed ponds that were shit, absolutely. That's part of the parcel of learning, but probably not for clients. Still love them.
Yeah,
I'm the biggest critic of my own work. So, I look at stuff and people will say, that's amazing and, it's so good and I love it and everything else, even stuff that's won awards. And I look at it and go, yeah, I would change that and I'd change that and that I'd do different and that should be there and I might add a few jet lines extra and change the way that the intake bay is and stuff like that. But that's sort of part and parcel of wanting to be or striving to be better than you are every day, I suppose.
Those industry awards, I know I've known and still do some real estate agents that the awards are just an absolute crock of shit that they give themselves. And then there's a couple of industry awards that I also know that are a crock of shit that, if you want this award, you only have to join up and pay your $20,000 a year membership.
Yeah.
And then you can be one of our 3 people that get an award. But if you don't win this year, you'll win next year or the year after. We'll just keep doing a circle. I can remember I went to one and, it was, I don't want to name the big company, but it was like, this company won like 6 awards during the night and all of the projects teams are like, yes, we win. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they were the only people that were, it was them competing against themselves. What do you think about the industry awards? Because it doesn't sound like this sort of thing's the same, especially with the one of the suppliers putting on an award thing.
I think they can be. There is some awards that I think are a bit fluff, specifically ones that go around how much product you sell. Don't like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because, look, I get it. It's part of retail, but it should be a retail award and shouldn't sort of be anything else other than that. But as far as the, Pondless Feature of the Year, Pond of the Year, Artist of the Year, all that sort of stuff, we all take a lot of pride in what we do and we're all competitive. You know, and in a good way, you know, worked a lot with Ben Harris and worked a lot with Patrick Hanley and worked a lot with guys who are great builders, and you're all competitive. Like, you might be in a joking way and you might be good friends, but you're still going, oh mate, I'm going to get there, or I'm going to do this before you are, or I'm going to do this better, or check out this waterfall that I'm building, or whatever. Like, it's in a fun way, but you've got to be competitive. If you love what you do and you want to be good at it, you're going to be trying to be the best at it. And if your mates are also good at what you do, what they do, then you're going to try to rib them a little bit. And
of course. You know, is it a small market for people who do this sort of work?
It's getting a lot bigger. So when I started, it was a lot smaller, but now there's probably 17 or 18 certified contractors just in Victoria, and then, you know, I don't know, probably 40 or 50 Australia wide now.
Do you go interstate yourself?
I have. I try not to, because I've got a family and kids and everything else, so I try to stay a little bit more local. But I have gone up to Queensland. So we helped Patrick Hanley build Woodford Folk Festival. Built a big Lake Goola, it's called, which is 100 metres long by 50 metres wide and about 5 metres deep. It's the largest aquascape ecosystem pond in the world.
That's a decent hole.
Yeah, it was
100 by 50 is 5,000 by 5 is 25,000 cube. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, and we didn't even have Starbucks to take out.
Someone fact check me, but I think that's a decent hole.
Yeah, so it's and then seaming liner in together in the bottom of that hole and creating an island in the middle, and lots and lots of rock work and building, you know, tree logs for fish to go in and everything else, and that was made for Woodford Folk Festival so that the people could swim in there, and it's all filtered naturally and stuff like that, and it's a big swimming lake basically, so which is very cool. But I went up to Queensland working 2 weeks on, 1 week off, and did that for 3 months, working with Patrick and a few other contractors up there. Tailored Waterscapes and a few other guys as well. So
how long does it take for these natural things to actually be? You know, you say it's naturally filtered, and I just hear like it because we had a dam at home that you know, you could say was naturally filtered with the reeds on the side of it, but the water's still dirty as shit. So like, how do you? What's that about? How do you? Is it with the liner and everything that you put in there, and you still have a filtration system, or no?
Yeah. So when we say naturally filtered, we're obviously still running pumps, aerators, upflow wetland filtration systems, and stuff like that. So
a bit different than a dam that the cows are shitting in.
Yeah, a little bit different. We have done work on farms and stuff just to bring nitrate levels down of dams and stuff like that. That say on pig farms and stuff like that, and they're getting a lot of nitrate heavy runoff. So we've added wetland filtration systems to those just to help. But as far as, you know, recreation ponds and stuff that's naturally filtered, it all goes up into a wetland system. So basically the pumps pull out from an intake bay or a skimmer and then go into the bottom of a wetland system, which has a snorkel and a centipede in it, goes up all different layers of grades of rock, which basically works similar to a septic system, creating aerobic bacteria, and the aerobic bacteria then breaks down the nutrients in the pond, and the plants help sort of polish the water.
You're a long way from a carpenter. Like, you just did that perfect. I can tell that you've done it once or twice.
Yeah.
You know, or even a longer way from a chef.
Yeah,
you know, like you're like, it's got the filtration system, blah, blah, blah. All right, so tell me a little bit more about what the structure of Nature Build looks like. You know, how many guys have you got? How did you get there? Because at the start, it would have just been you, and you know, what's your first employee and all of those sorts of fun things.
Yeah,
that, you know,
it's gone sort of full circle, and it has been fun. So now I've actually, including myself, only have 3 guys.
Oh, cool.
So that's it. So I'm back on the tools full time. Obviously, in between dropping kids off at school and doing the other business stuff that you have to do. And then I got a foreman, Gabriel, who started working with me when I was a carpenter, when he was 18, and I was a little bit older. I would have been 24, 25. Mm-hmm. And he's now in his 30s and got a kid of his own, and he's back with me as a foreman. Cool. So that's been great. We've sort of worked on and off a lot over the years, and he's ducked off to do other bits and pieces, moved to Melbourne for a bit and worked with a big building company up here and sort of building big 3-story McMansions and everything else. And then he's come back to the country and coming to build some water features with me again. So, and then young Dylan, who's my apprentice, is actually my diesel mechanic's son. who came on to work with me a few years ago.
I love this. Like that, isn't this? It's nice.
It's a country
These sort
thing.
of stories are nice.
And yeah, his old man said, "Oh, my son's sitting on the couch and needs to get out and do something. Take him to work. I don't care if you pay him." And so, so we took him on for a while, and obviously paid him, but he was great, and he was detail orientated and sort of your system orientated and everything else. And so we said, "All right, mate. Well, get your license and you can come on full time." And so he's been on full time since. And
perfect.
But yeah, Nature Build I grew pretty quick, not to your scale, obviously. As I said to you when we spoke, I'm just a little fish, but...
No, it takes all sorts of fish to make an ocean, I think it is.
To make an ecosystem.
There we go.
Yeah, but so we started, I remember sitting down and going, geez, if I could just turn over 100 grand a year, I reckon I'd do all right. Knowing absolutely nothing when I first started. And then I sort of doubled my turnover year after year for about 4 or 5 years in a row. And my crew grew and my business grew and my equipment grew and everything else. And I think the biggest I got to was about 7 guys. Multiple trucks, multiple excavators, 5 tonners, 2 tonners, 1.5 tonners, mostly small to mid-size stuff, skid steers and that sort of thing as well. And then I hated it. I just about had a nervous breakdown because I, was trying to do a big job in Keilor while running other jobs elsewhere and trying to handle, family life when you're trying to run a business of that size and just didn't have the systems and processes, I think, in place to...
I think that there's also a thing, out there that says, everyone has the ability to do anything that they want. And I know that with myself, a long time ago, someone said to me, you'll know when you reach your limit when you can't sleep.
Yeah.
And while he's talking about in business and everything, and while I haven't reached that limit yet, although I have had some sleepless nights. I know that when I've used that question a long time when talking to mates of mine, like when business is hard. How you going? I'm not sleeping. How long haven't you been sleeping for? A year.
Yeah.
And you go, a year? Fuck. But I think that everyone's got this perception that anyone can build a big business because that's what they all say. But anyone can. But if your life and who you are doesn't enjoy it anymore, or if or if your family, needs to come first because you've got school pick up and drop off, then it's all right to go from 7 to 3. You know. And in fact, if I said to you, how much happier are you now at 3? You go, fucking heaps happier.
Yeah. And look, the thing is, as you would know when you're scaling, often you don't make any more money with 7. So turning over 1.7, which is the biggest year we had in residential, which was okay, was great until I looked at the books at the end of the year. And there was more problems than there was, money in the bank.
But then it's all of a sudden, people aren't paying because you haven't done as good of a job.
Yeah.
Or they've had a problem that hasn't been fixed immediately.
One thing I'll say is we've 100% positive reviews, 100% positive Google reviews, 100% positive Facebook reviews. That has always been what drives me, and I'm a people pleaser, which is probably why I don't do well scaling a business.
Yeah.
Because it means that I have to let go of control. It means that I have to let go of things being, quote unquote perfect. I have to be okay with getting that shit review and something going wrong because somebody's learning and they're not me and everything else. And I struggle with that because at the end of the day, I started the business because I love it and I love being on the tools and I love, the way that the water cascades over the rocks and how it all looks when it's finished and everything else. I don't love anything about running the actual business as far as building it. I enjoy the actual work. So
that's for me. Like I actually love the business part of it too. So I love digging holes.
Yeah.
In the right way. I can't dig holes anymore because everyone wants to talk to me. I don't want to talk. I just want to dig a hole. Put on some music.
Yeah.
Sit down and throw dirt at trucks. But then it got different, like the jobs got different. What I was running got different. I had multiple sites like what you're talking about, and your brain starts to go a little bit haywire a little bit, and you need to sort of step back, and then you need to step into, running it. And then I quite liked it because I like playing games of chess, trying to, do the right move at the right time, with, the resources you have, the boys that you got, the people you're working for, all of those things. I always quite enjoyed that part. But I've got some mates who never, ever enjoyed that part. In fact, they fucking hated it. Like put me back in a machine. I just want to go out on a site and do site cuts.
Yeah.
Rather than, sitting down and, pricing jobs or arguing with people. I don't want to argue with anyone. I just want to do a good job and go home.
Yeah.
So it's real interesting the different paths that you get to, because at 7 employees, a couple of $1 million turnover, it starts to be, you got a bit on.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's look, and a couple of things. I had good guys, but they were also guys that were employees, and they were looking at it and going, well, why can't we just charge the client more because it's taken me 4 weeks instead of 2? So, well, it doesn't work like that, mate. I just have to take the loss. Like that's not how that works. And when you're not there to sort of oversee that, you either have to be everywhere and oversee all of it, which is obviously, what you move up to when you're on that next page of the business, where you're going, I'm not on this one site. I'm now overseeing these 3 sites. And going to any complaints that have happened, and going and seeing suppliers, and keeping all the sort of balls up in the air and making sure that the things are in the right site at the right time and everyone's got the right equipment and everything else. But if you're still trying to be on site, which I was still building a big job in Kiel, or while I had 2 other job sites running, then I was trying to be an employee at the same time as being an employer, and that's difficult. But
and takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and a lot of time and a lot of mental capacity, I suppose, as well, where you're trying to focus fully on what you're doing at the time, which is digging the holes and doing the steel work and doing the pond and doing 30 metres of waterfalls down a massive hillside and getting 500 cube of dirt out of a dead-end street in Keilor, which was a bloody nightmare, and getting 300 cube of rock back in there so you can build all the structure and do all this sort of stuff. And
all while answering a phone call and some prick being 20 minutes late to the job and then being like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And you go, I'm getting a bit like, I understand people can be late. I've been late sometimes in my life too, but please don't be late.
And it's just, logistical things of go, oh, well, a guy's got a machine stuck on the side of that hill there because he's gone a little bit close to the building and it's gone down on the soft stuff, and now he can't get out of that. Now he can't get the skid steer out. So I'm going to go and deal with that. And then, somebody else is calling from a different site with some other thing that's gone wrong. And you're going, geez, I just want to build this water feature here.
It would be, it's quite challenging, the scale part of it. I think I got quite lucky because we scaled quite quickly through a couple of difficult times. But, even now we run into scaling problems and everything else, and each time you have to reset and go again. But to give you an example of where we were at, when I was on site and doing the work, we like 15 years ago, I moved 800 cube a day.
Yeah.
On average, we did 800 cube every day. Didn't matter really. I had a 15 ton, but the averages remain the same. Even if I took my 8 ton over the week, it just means you work a little bit harder and a little bit longer. 800 in an 8 tons is fucking moving.
Yeah.
But we moved 800 cube every single day, rain, hail, shine, weekend, you name it. 5 days a week. Now we move like 400. I got more diggers, more trucks, more everything, more management. I've got my own float. I got, you name it, we've got it. How the fuck are we at 400, not 800? But then you learn, the processes slow you down, but it's how you're able to take the fact that I was the one on site, making sure that we move 700, 800 every single day, to now we've got processes that do that, and we can, have a site that I've rocked up to a job, not known it was our job, and walked in and said, hey, who's moving your dirt? And the guy's like, you are, and I'm subbing for you, Jimmy. So what? And he's moving 400 or 500 a day. Yeah. And those processes and how you build them.
How did you go? So, and maybe it's a different industry, so it's maybe different. But one of my biggest snagging points in trying to scale was I didn't have any connection to the job anymore.
Yeah.
So I know it was my job. As you said, you walked onto the job site, you didn't know it was your job and everything else. But for me, I looked at that and I went through a year or 2 years where I was like, I just didn't feel any connection to the job site. I didn't feel any connection to the job. I didn't feel any connection to the client. That didn't work for me from a passion point of view, I suppose, because I didn't have that, because I wasn't on site doing it.
Well, my passion has probably changed a little bit from the job to the people running the job or, the company. Building the company overall means that there can be jobs out there that I don't know about, being ran by someone who I know everything about and, help organise and help be part of. And, I don't ever want to use the word mentor, but, I talk to people about how they're running their job, what they're doing and everything else, which means I don't have to know about it.
Yeah.
I've got big clients that I do not know one person there. We've worked for them for 5 years. I only know the company name on the scheduler, and I only know that. But the people who are taking care of it are super proud, and they love it because when you were scaling, you had someone, you were in Kilo.
Yeah.
You had someone else taking care of another job.
Yep.
Eventually, those people want to take care of it themselves. It's just the natural progression of growth. You're wanting to grow and they're wanting to grow themselves as well. And it becomes this balancing act of they have to fit within your framework of how Nature Build builds these things while doing it their own way.
Yeah.
So we got to the stage where as long as you're moving 500 cubic meters a day, we don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like you can do it how you want, from the back to the front, from the front to the back, side to side. But it's actually a real challenge to go from the person digging the holes or the person in your thing building the waterfalls.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's probably what made me interested in listening to your podcast in the first place, is because, hearing other people's point of views in stuff and where they had wins and where they'd had failures and where they tried to scale and where they got screwed over and having a job that you can see is going south and you still got to finish it and everything else.
Man.
All of that is so relatable as you've tried to start scaling and scale to a certain point and then drop back, and then I'm building my systems and processes so that I can scale still, but scale in a cleaner and neater way with less overall.
Yeah, but if you build the wrong system, you are fucked.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the level of screwed that you are.
Yeah.
Because, it can be as simple as we had our system. We had new subcontractors come in, and the system processed them in the incorrect way, and then put them in a holding folder, let's say. So we had all of these people that wanted to work for us it was a long time, it was like 4 or 5 months, that we didn't process a new person working for us in the trucking company at all.
Yeah.
That kills companies, yeah? That kills them. You could die. And when I say that, you go, oh, that doesn't sound that bad. Imagine if you're putting ads on Seek and not getting one new applicant ever.
Yeah.
And you've got job ads online for everything all the time. That's the equivalent in the trucking game.
Yeah.
So you've got to scale. You've got to have the processes be lean enough that you can still scale, but be rounded enough to be able to give people the framework of what they have to work to. It's a real art building that sort of stuff, because I can't put Lynn Fox's sort of systems on top of Starbuck. If I did, I wouldn't, A, have enough people to run them, and B, the amount of paperwork and shit that it would cause for all of my trucks, I wouldn't make any money.
Yeah, yeah.
But they run it perfectly, and it works really well for them because they're at the size that you can do it.
Yeah.
And so let's get back to you going, what happened? Was it the Kilo job where you're turning over 1.7, you got machines, trucks coming out your ass, you got boys running everywhere, you're on the phone ordering liners. Was there a moment when you were watching YouTube with Gastro that you ended up saying, right, this is no good?
Nah, I don't have a lot of quit in me.
No.
For good or bad. It might be for bad, who knows? But I don't have a lot of quit in me. So at no point did I think about, oh, geez, this has gone shit, or this is, it was a logistical nightmare. I don't work in the city a lot. So, trying to get 500 cube of soil out might seem like a piece of cake for you. But for me, I was going, how the fuck am I going to do this? And I've got other trades trying to put scaffold up in front of me, and I'm trying to run. I've got a 5-tonner sliding down this steep hill.
Don't worry, the scaffold blokes are still putting up the scaffold, and the guy in the skid steer is still trying to roll it.
Yeah, and I've got truck guys ringing me up saying, and I'm going, hey, where are you? I was supposed to have 5 trucks here today. And they say, well, we've got other jobs for 150 an hour. So if you match 150 an hour, we'll come out. Oh, fuck, I just got to pay it. And so
I got to pay it, but I hate you.
Yeah, I know, because we agreed on 120, and now you're calling me up the morning of saying, unless you give me 150, I'm not coming out. And I've got 40, 50, 100 cubes sitting on the front driveway that I've got to get rid of. So, all of that stuff was a nightmare. And we bucketed up granitic sand by hand, and we finished a lot of stuff. I was building on the way out, and I had a 5-ton Takeuchi at the time, and I was hanging it off the back of a 2-meter drop with the blade down so I could finish digging the pond and putting rocks in from the side so I could, grade my way out, because I had to cut a pillar out of the bloody corner of the renovation to get the machine in there in the first place.
God, it just sounds like some of the jobs that I'm sure everyone who's listening to this has done, where you just go, it's 5 years on or whatever it is, you can still remember Takeuchi cutting out the pillars, this, and it's just like...
look, we won an award for that project, and we got given the award, and I swear my eye was twitching. It was the PTSD from that whether I would ever do a job like that again, I don't know. But it was great at the end, and I was proud of our team and myself to get it finished and to a quality and a level that it's been really good. And it's, we've had a bunch of people go through it and, film it and everything else at this stage. But it was definitely one of those ones that I learned a hell of a lot of lessons. About...
Did you make any money on it?
No, I lost money, big money.
Yeah, cool. Great. I like that.
I think over $100,000.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And it was the biggest job I'd done to date from a turnover perspective.
And you lost 100 on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was supposed to take me 4 months, and I reckon we were there for 8.
That's a bit of a time frame blowout.
We would show up and they would have built scaff on the side of the single driveway access could just fit a 2.5 meter excavator through it. So we would get there and the scaff would be set up. All my machines are at the top, all my rock is at the bottom, and they've decided to build scaffold over the weekend.
And isn't that funny? If you've got the right system and the right process in the office, that probably would have been averted that thing.
Yeah,
because now you're having program meetings and you're overlaying the builder's schedule and blah, 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 and you see that the scaffold's going to come up there and you let them know that you're either demobilising or they're going to put it up in a way that lets you get past or blah, blah, blah. Or last things last, you owe me some money. Just a little, but you don't even go for that. And like at the beginning, you don't even know that that's a possibility.
So there was a lot of things that I could have and should have done. It's the same as over COVID. When I was scaling over COVID and everything else, as you know, COVID was busy for construction, a lot of construction.
Hell yeah, COVID was great for digging holes.
We were flat out, but I had 18 months worth of work ahead of me before COVID happened. So,
slight issue.
Which was great. And from that business perspective, I was like, grow, build, take jobs, everything else, awesome, beautiful. I didn't make one price adjustment.
Clever.
For 18 months of jobs over COVID. Now, as you would know, pricing did not stay the same for us over COVID. So I took all of those losses right on the chin.
Great.
That is, and
let me guess, the people who you took the losses for ring you up all the time, ask you how you've been, come over to your house for dinner.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Make kids' birthdays, they're sending presents in the mail.
I look back on it now, because, it was a few years ago now, I look back on it now, I say 90% of those clients would have happily, if I'd called them and said, hey, our materials have gone up 50%. Can we work something out? 90% of them would have said yes and been happy about it.
Let me tell you, 100% of them would have said yes.
Yeah. Or it might have got some kickback from a couple of people.
But they wouldn't have been happy.
Yeah.
Like there was a percentage, but if they've locked in the job.
Yeah. But something about my pride and going, well, I locked this job in at that price and that was that. Well, and stupidity, stupidity from a business owner's perspective of going, well, yeah, but I said it would be this much. So that's what I'm going to do.
And at some times, a quote's a quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've managed to learn over the time now that, like, for them, though, the quote isn't the quote, and the sliding scope, that they want you to do, they change it so much. So you have to change it a little bit sometimes, and make a balancing act. And it can't just be, my quote stands, and yet you can add on anything that you would like to add.
Yeah, and I think I think that was one of the lessons that I learned is that now I'm quick to make sure that I have those awkward conversations. Say, oh, can you do this? Could you do that? Yeah, absolutely.
How do you go in awkward conversations?
Sorry?
How do you go in awkward conversations?
Yeah, pretty good. Look, I'm pretty straight up and honest with people. I'm a communicator and I like to communicate with people openly and honestly. There's always that bit of thing that I don't like, if something happens and I say, well, this is, look, we hit rock, for example. Even hitting rock, there's the amount of times that I just hit rock and ate it. Because I was like, wow, you're digging a hole. And now I'm like, hey guys, let's have this awkward conversation because we've hit a shit ton of rock. We're going to have to get breakers in. We're going to have to get rid of it, everything else.
The time is going to blow out.
I'll do it as efficiently and cost efficiently as possible for you, but it will be an extra. And most of the time, people are like, oh, great, thank you.
The awkward conversation and the art of having it is incredibly important and a skill that you don't know that you need until it starts to hit your pocket. I want to talk a little bit about two more things before we finish up because I know that the time sometimes goes here pretty quick.
Yeah.
What did you build in Georgia?
Built a pond in Georgia for Shaquille O'Neal.
Georgia in America.
Yeah. So actually in a little place called McDonough. And again, I'm going to swing back real quickly because I was talking to you about how, you sweat equity and everything else. Now, when I worked doing Woodford, the massive big 100 by 5 metre project and everything else, I was working with Pat Handley. And I was on, a day rate and sleeping in a donga and punching big days and everything else. And all the boys would go home over the weekends because they were Queensland boys, and I would say, well, I'm staying here. I may as well keep working. So I'd be out in the 20-tonner, flicking rock out into the wetland and getting stuff done. And Patrick would say, hey, boys, what do you want to do? It's, it's starting to get a little bit dark and it's, 6 o'clock and, we can either shut down and have a beer or we can keep pushing through. And you'd hear over the radio 4 of the guys go, no worries, we'll be in there having a beer. And I'd message Pat through and I'd say, hey, mate, I'm happy to keep going as long as you are. I'm here anyway. May as well keep working. So we would work for another 2 hours, get everything done, and then he would say, all right, mate, pack it up. Mm-hmm. So when this opportunity came to go over to McDonough, Georgia and build Shaquille O'Neal a pond with Patrick Handley, I was one of the people that got a phone call, from him in Queensland to go over as part of his crew as well. And that gave us the opportunity to go over to Shaq's build and do that. So I think it all... there's no such thing as luck. It's come from the work that you put in before, and it's come from being able to sacrifice a bit of time and a bit of money to get the job done and make sure that he made money on that project and got it done in the timeline and everything else. So when a cool opportunity came, he knew that I love basketball and I'm a Lakers fan and I've got Kobe Bryant tattooed on my leg and everything else. And so when the opportunity came to build a pond for Shaquille O'Neal, I was one of his first phone calls to go over there. And
what was the job?
Big ecosystem pond for Aquascape over in the US. So they built him a water feature before, and then he had a landscaper come in and build him a retention pond, and it was shit, and it was dirty, and it looked crap, and everything else. And so we went in and basically just did a 5-day build. So there was 30 contractors, 5 days.
Shit.
And we
30 contractors.
It. Yeah. So we had 3 machines running, multiple, like something like 1 million pounds of rock or something went into it in 5 days. It was a big project. We were working long days.
Is there some photos of it?
Yeah, should be able to get some photos.
Can we put some photos of what Shaquille O'Neal's water feature looks like?
Yeah. So it's got a beach area and a big lot of waterfalls, and then he's got a chipping green sort of built in around the pond and stuff like that. So, but it was a cool project. We were staying with the Canadian guys over there, and working early in the morning and sort of having dinner on site. It was catered, so they had people there supplying food and stuff, and we'll just work through till dinner time and then come back again first thing in the morning. So did that for 5 days, and then I was lucky enough that I got to go and do a bit of travelling. Went to Nashville and Memphis and stuff like that, and then came back and met Shaq himself and got to shake his hand and say g'day and have a bit of a chat to him. So which was
he's like 7 foot tall, isn't he?
He's a massive unit. Jeez, he's big. Like I'm 6'3", and he made me look like a midget.
Yeah, but he's also like big.
Yeah.
Like
his hand. I've got a photo with his hand on my shoulder, and his hand makes my head look like a doll's head. Like it's just he's just. I would not want him running down the court full speed at me.
And now the last thing I wanted to speak to you about was your plan. You have a plan to build something up in. Actually, you didn't tell me whereabouts you want to build it. I'm assuming it's Bendigo somewhere.
Yeah.
But what does that look like? You had a name for it. The other one was called Pondemonium. And what's your one going to be called?
I've gone back and forth with names a little bit, but I'd like to build a display yard down in Bendigo somewhere around that area. Sort of the dreams, I suppose, is to get an office and have a display yard where I can have a pondless waterfall and some decorative features and an ecosystem pond and a recreation pond where I can take clients and designers.
What's the difference between an ecosystem pond and a recreation pond?
Basically filtration and depth. So ecosystem pond's just a fish pond. Can't
swim in it.
Yeah, so it's generally got a little biological filter, usually a pre-made biological filter on it, and skimmer and stuff like that. And then once you start getting up to recreation ponds or even large ecosystem ponds, you're generally building custom wetland filtration systems and stuff like that. So I'd like to have a yard with all that sort of stuff and a few machines parked up there and some bays with equipment and materials and all that sort of stuff. That's the dream, and be able to do a bit of retail and a bit of specialty work of some timber stuff and stone work and stuff out of there as well. And then that'll sort of allow me to have a home base there that I can move around. And
does that mean you could be a supplier for some of these? It sounds like these liner things is something serious in there. Like, do they have do you have to be a registered installer of the liners or something like that? Is that hard to be? Or
well, you can buy it. You can buy it, as a non-registered person. So we are certified, what they call master certified contractors, which is, you've done a certain level of training and done a certain amount of installs and to a certain quality, and you've got to sort of do bookwork every year to make sure that you sort of stay at that level and show that, you've got quality work and you're getting positive results and everything else. But that you can become a retailer for Aquascape gear and for the filtration systems and for the liner and everything else, which is something that I'm thinking about doing in the long run. But again, it's probably will be something that I do once I'm off-site a little bit more.
But from what I've heard, it's a bit of a challenge to be off-site, because let's say what fills your bucket at work. If what fills your bucket is building the best things possible and being on site and being part of the build and making sure that it runs to plan, it's going to be very difficult to get out of there and start selling filters.
It is, yeah. And whether that means that I'm bringing somebody else in to run the retail side of it, and I just sort of oversee that a little bit and still stay on site, is probably the way that it would end up going. But whether I can convince my partner to take over the retail, she's into fish tanks and aquariums and stuff like that, so I might be able to twist her arm one day. But yeah, she doesn't like being inside the business that much. She would rather be out on site as well.
No, sometimes it doesn't work very well with partners inside the business. You did mention you had 5 kids though. 5.
Yeah, between us. So I've got an 8-year-old and a 18-year-old, and then my partner's got a 6, a 10, and a 12-year-old. So it keeps us busy in between.
So 6, 8, 10, 12, 18.
Correct. Yeah.
So I don't know, like there's a lot of people who sit down who have a lot of kids in front of me, and gosh, it sounds like a challenge.
It is. Yeah.
Kids are tough. Kids are hard, and a lot of people aren't allowed to talk about the fact that kids are really tough and really hard. No one wants to sit.
Tough.
Yeah, no one wants to sit down and say, kids are. Yeah, but life with kids is hard sometimes, and I can only imagine life with 5 kids is pretty challenging, especially from 6 to 18.
Yeah. And as you know, running a business is difficult in its own right, and having, being able to talk with your partner and know why you're not there early in the morning and you're not there late at night, and why you're on your phone because you're doing something for the business, and the phone rings and you go, shit, I better answer this because I know who this is and it could be an issue. And I might just duck out and do that quote real quick while I'm, on a Saturday night while you're supposed to be doing something with your partner, or, all that stuff's really hard. And it's hard for your kids as well. The kids, want to play and they want to do stuff, and you've got to put them into after school care so you can.
I think that though, like, I think sometimes we worry too much, and I don't want to sound like a bit of a heartless prick, but maybe it's good for them. Maybe it's good for the kids, and we feel a bit of guilt around it. And, I know that your missus or my missus feels guilt around, having to work and after school care, and, stopping off on, after you do your nice swimming on the Saturday morning, and then you stop off and look at a job and they wait in the car. Maybe that's what makes a well-rounded human that, understands the, work ethic, understands that, like you got to balance having fun with, not fun.
Yeah.
Rather than just having these entitled, maybe that's where the entitled kids get away with it, because they're not having to stop off on the way home from swimming. They just get to go have McDonald's on the way home, and then that's it. Then they go play on an iPad.
Yeah.
Your kids or my kids are sitting in a car, or watching me point at dirt, or watching you look at a waterfall.
Yeah, and I think that sort of probably does come to light a bit with my daughter being 18. She moved out of home at 16, same as I did. She started her own business. She went and got all her certifications to do beauty and nails. She's very artistic, and then she's opened up her own sort of at-home studio, and she's building social media followers and running her business and doing really well with it. And I look at it and go, maybe that comes from.
I don't think that's by chance. No. I don't think that you can install that grit in kids or anything without this very thing that you sit down and you say is, for us or, the parents or whatever, a bit shit.
Yeah.
It's a bit shit that you're on your phone, when you're meant to be doing something, or have to rush out of a ballet recital, most likely the 4th ballet recital you've seen this year alone.
My daughter was a basketballer.
You have 2 basketball games a week, 1 practice, and 3 different leagues. And it's hard, but maybe that's how you end up with, kids who are starting their business at 16 and moved out at 18.
Yeah. And I speak to her now, and everyone goes, oh, you're not your business. And I'm like, yeah, but I am. Because it's my baby. I started it. And it's the same as there might be other people that you say, what if somebody else could raise your kids better? What if they're smarter? What if they're better at raising them? Would you give it to somebody else? No, because you love them and they're your kids. And my business is the same. So, I look at that and I go, well, I am my business, and my business is me, as well as being my own person. And now I look at it and I say to my daughter, oh, what do you want for Christmas, kiddo? She says, wow, here's a few things and maybe some money because I'm trying to expand the business and this is what I want to do and I'm going to do this and I need to get this new equipment and this and everything else. And I go, there you go.
That sounds great.
Yeah. And I'm not going to sit there and say, well, you're not your business. So go for it, kiddo. Mm-hmm. You're young. Take all the risk now. Because if it fails and you eat shit, then you can turn around and do it again.
Yeah. And you can always move back into your room at our house.
That's right, yeah.
Well, so we've got about 5 minutes left. I always turn over the microphone to at the very end of it for people who might want to bring out something curly from their brain. Did you have anything you wanted to talk about that we haven't touched on?
Oh, not really. It's one of those things, every time I listen to the podcast and I think, 5 minutes, and everyone goes, no, I don't really have anything else to say.
Well, I tell you what, it's different underneath the spotlight.
It is, yeah, because you've sort of spoken about most things. But no, I want to say thank you for having me on and everything else as well. I've enjoyed listening to the podcast. And again, like I was saying, it is one of those things that it's nice to get some insight from the industry and similar industries and everything else where you can actually go, oh yeah, those people are going through the same shit as I am. Because as you know, if your friends don't run businesses, they don't generally understand what it's like to run a business. And
that part there is really challenging, because then it turns into what sort of business do they run?
Yeah.
You know, and how do they run it? And, you know, like the challenges. And it's not just from my end or their end, you know, like I have people who say to me, oh, you know, like, oh, Jimmy, you won't understand, like me, you know, because I had my insurance and my diesel bill and my rego all due this week, and, you know, it was a bit of a shit week. And I go, yeah, and they go, but you won't get it, you know, because, you know, you run heaps of stuff. So, yeah. And I'm like, no, I get it, because if you have 10 regos due this week and 10 insurances due this week, then it's a pretty shit week regardless.
And then you feel like a bit of a dick saying that to them, because you don't want to, you know, lessen their.
No,
so it's
exactly.
like, yeah, no, I get it. I get that, you know, your one car rego was rough, but I just paid out 50 grand's worth of regos.
And that's fine, and it's just different levels.
Yeah.
But everyone's got this, you know, perception of money that says that, you know, the amount of money you got. I'm sure you got it when you were, you know, really cracking on and having 7 employees rolling around, that everyone's like, oh.
Yeah, thought I was making snow angels in my piles of cash that I had, you know. It's and it's difficult, because people go, oh yeah, I know what you mean, because it's, you know, I did this job for another company once and it was hard, and you're like, yeah, but it's not the same. Like, unless you run a business, it's really hard to have those conversations with people, because it's not the same. Like, you just don't. It's like saying, well, I babysat a kid once, so I know what it's like to have newborn twins. Like, that's, you know, it's same sort of thing, but it's not the same. It's
I also found out that I'm not a consumer of podcasts.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't scratch my mental problems that I have. It's not loud enough to keep the noises quiet. So I've actually found that now I've been doing this. Do you know how many podcasts are out there? There is a shit load of podcasts out there. They are everywhere. But I think we've gotten in some good guests. I think that one of the big parts about the difference of this podcast is that every week is a different guest, rather than, you know, me talking again and again. It's got a different flavour to it, which is nice. And so at the end of them all, I always say that if you have anyone, this is for you and for the audience, if you have anyone that you think should come on or anything like that, please let me know.
Yeah.
Because it's, well, yeah, we need more guests. We do have a lot in the backlog, but we're looking at it.
It's always good to get different sort of opinions and different sort of points of view on everything as well too. So it's always good.
Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Bill.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Like always, like, subscribe, comment, share. You know, tell anyone you know about it, and we'll share some of the pictures of these ecosystems on the at the end of the picture.
Perfect.
Done. Thank you very much
mate.
for coming.
Cheers.